When you walk on a college campus, you see students walking to class, friends grabbing food, and tired eyes trying to cram in the last bits of information as they're entering their exam. What you don't see are the thoughts of regret from the boy who thought this was his dream school but feels out of place with every step he takes on campus. What you don't see are the feelings of failure from a girl who thought she could handle going out of state for school but ended up transferring to the closest school back home.
Hi, I'm Anna. I'm a sophomore and I'm an elementary education major.
My name's Peyton. I'm a junior here at UNC Charlotte. I'm a nursing student and I'm
a transfer student. I transferred from Monmouth University in New Jersey. I chose to go to that school to stay close to home, to kind of please my parents and help with financial stuff. I decided to transfer because I wasn't really 100% happy at my old school. I had friends and everything there, but I needed something different and I wasn't really a big fan of living in New Jersey, so I decided just to up and go to North Carolina. At my old school, I specifically didn't like where it was. I didn't like being in New Jersey, and I also didn't like how small it was. There was probably 4,500 undergrads that went to my old school, whereas UNC Charlotte has like 30,000.
I transferred from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill after my freshman year. It was really competitive to get in there, and when I found out I got in, I was really excited, and it seemed like the right idea at the time. Like financially, I got a lot of financial aid from there, and so it seemed like a good idea. I didn't make very many friends, and I was really homesick. I figured out it's not really for me to be 2.5 hours away from home, and being here at UNC Charlotte and being only 45 minutes away, I feel a lot safer. This feels like home to me. Mostly, I felt like a lot of people at UNC Chapel Hill, everyone there was in the top 10% of their class, and for me that made me feel really intimidated. I didn't feel like I made a ton of friends because I felt like everyone was in a constant competition to be better, be smarter, because you were at such a high-ranking school that was really competitive, and so it just never felt like I felt like welcomed there.
When I decided to transfer, it was kind of when COVID-19 first hit, so it was kind of hard to see what universities I wanted to transfer to. I considered here, obviously, UNC Wilmington and Coastal Carolina. I chose to transfer to UNCC because of the amount of transfer students that come here. I felt that it would be a little more welcoming, and I liked the location, and it had a really good education program for my major. I'm currently in a sorority, which has helped me meet a lot of people. I decided to up and move into the sorority house when I came to North Carolina, so that definitely made my college experience better. I love our philanthropy, so it helped me expand my horizons and become more educated on the manor. And I'm also in another program, another club for special needs, which is what I want to do in my life, special education as well, so it just kind of helped.
UNC Charlotte was really the only place that I considered outside of UNC Chapel Hill because it was close to home and still a public university. So other than school, I have a job in Mooresville, so it's only like a 30-40 minute drive from here, so I'm still able to work and make money and afford to live here, and that also allows me. My sister works there, so I get to stay in touch with her. I get to stay in touch with all of my work friends. I also knew a lot of people here because this was where a ton of my friends from high school went, and I was familiar with the area. I know that I can always go shopping at Birkdale because it's 20 minutes from here, and I don't feel unsafe in the area because I'm familiar with it.
At first, I definitely did think of myself as a failure because I transferred. I kind of wanted to stick it out for my parents, but then I realized I was unhappy where I was, so it's not really failing when you're unhappy, it's just making yourself better so you could be happy somewhere else. The hardest part of the transfer process for me was actually not even being able to see UNC Charlotte before I decided to transfer because of Corona and everything, so I just kind of went for it, which is really, really scary, but here I am. My old university was by the beach, so that's something I miss about it, but besides that, I really don't miss anything at all.
I definitely felt like not being happy at UNC Chapel Hill made me feel like a failure because they do have not a lot of people transfer out of there, and I felt like this was such a good school. Why wasn't I happy? Why didn't I make friends? I knew a lot of people in high school who wanted to go there really badly and would have given anything to go there, and I felt guilty that I didn't like it. and it was a really high-ranking school, so transferring somewhere that isn't exactly viewed the same way, it did make me feel like people looked down on me or felt like I did it for the wrong reasons. I think the hardest part was being open and honest with people about why I wanted to transfer, and you have to deal with a lot of people's opinions on why you didn't want to stay there, or like, was I taking the easy way out? And I struggled with that, like, within my own self too. Like, was I really unhappy there, or was I just afraid that because things were more competitive there that I would fail? And I don't think that was true now, but especially when I was really struggling with it and wanting to leave, I wondered, like, you know, why am I doing this and what are people going to think of me? I do not miss a thing about it. I was really, really unhappy when I was there, and from the moment that I came here, like, it really did feel like home, and I felt safe, and I felt like I could make friends who were accepting of me. And obviously that's not to really say anything bad about UNC Chapel Hill, it just wasn't home for me. It is home for a lot of people, but it just wasn't home for me.
What advice do you have for students who are thinking about transferring?
Just to trust your gut. Know that you're not a failure if you decide to transfer. Look at all your options, consider everything before you make the decision, but know that you don't have to go to school somewhere for 4 years. If you're really unhappy, just do what makes you happy.
If you're thinking about transferring, I would mostly be really cognizant about how your credits transfer, because a lot of the times transfer students do end up behind. So like, I will graduate a semester after I originally planned to, because certain things don't transfer the same way, even if you're going to a school in the same state. And be really aware that just because something is on the transfer guide at your school, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll accept it then, or that because it's never been on there before that they won't, because they accepted one of my credits that I didn't think that they would, and I had to argue about that for a little while. So.
My name's Courtney Luther, and I'm a transfer student.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and I'm a transfer student.
My name's Josie, and I'm a transfer student.
My name is Morgan Meisner, and I'm a transfer student.
My name's Courtney, and I'm a transfer student.
Hi, my name's Holly Wheat, and I am a transfer student.
My name's Kyler Hicks, and I'm a transfer student.
My name's Mackenzie Austin. I'm the filmmaker of this documentary, and I'm a transfer student. In high school, when everybody was applying to colleges and figuring out which schools they wanted to go to, I felt left out because I felt that everyone had a dream school except me. I applied to the schools I was expected to apply to because I got good grades in high school, and people told me to apply to Chapel Hill and State and all these other places, but no place ever spoke to me. So I started to look outside of North Carolina schools, and I have family in Knoxville, Tennessee, so I thought, why not look at the University of Tennessee? The first time I stepped foot on Tennessee's campus, I felt a connection. I felt something different, something calling me there. I loved it so much that we even planned on having Thanksgiving with my aunt in Knoxville that year just so we could go to a Tennessee game. I was so excited to go to Tennessee and to start fresh. I didn't know anybody going to Tennessee, and that scared me, of course, but it also really excited me. The summer before I moved to Tennessee, I tried not to think about it for too long because I'm an only child, and my whole life I've lived in the same house, so moving was very traumatic. So my solution was to just not think about it. I worked at summer camp at the Y that year, which took up about 40 hours a week for me, so it was pretty easy to not think about moving to Knoxville in the fall that summer. But inevitably, August came and it was time to move in. And that car ride to Knoxville to move in was my first thoughts of regret. And that scared me more than anything, that I hadn't even started classes or moved into my dorm yet. And I already knew I made the wrong decision. Obviously, there wasn't anything I could do at that point. Moving day was horrible. I hated moving in. My roommate and I didn't really talk much that year, just because we were kind of different people, I guess. We were both kind of quiet, so we just didn't really talk that much. We coexisted though, and I feel like that kind of hurt me too, that I didn't have really a friend there. That fall semester at Tennessee was hard. It was really hard. I didn't do much. I was a computer science major, which is in the College of Engineering. I couldn't code for my life and was expected to do some pretty complicated coding already in my intro class, which was horrible and led to many fights on the phone with my dad, who does that for a living. Ended up not going to the second half of my computer science class at all and taking no credit, which I was very thankful that was an option. So really, I only took about 9 credits my fall semester, even though I was like signed up for 12. It was hard. I was unhappy. I didn't know. I wasn't somewhere I wanted to be. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I didn't know where I wanted to be, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Luckily for me, one of my best friends from back home was in the same situation at a different university. So we decided that we were going to transfer, and she knew she wanted to come to UNC Charlotte, and I was torn between UNC Charlotte and App State, and decided for my mental sanity that going to UNC Charlotte would be better for me, just because my friend would be going through the same thing with me, and I figured that's really what I needed. I needed somebody going through it with me at the same time, which did help. It helped a lot. But even though I was signed up and applied for UNC Charlotte, probably by January of my freshman year, I still had a whole nother semester at Tennessee. And going back from winter break was hard. January and February were tough again, but my classes were better because I had changed my major to undecided, and I was taking some really fun classes. My favorite would be my theater class. It was just an intro to theater class, but my professor was amazing, and I just loved everything about it. And the really special thing about Tennessee is that they have a professional theater on campus that's very, like, only a few universities have that. I loved my theater class so much that by March, I had emailed one of the directors that produced all of our theater department stuff if he needed anybody extra on their crew, and he said, yeah, of course. And I was able to be on the wardrobe crew for a play with a bunch of the undergraduate actors, and that saved me. That saved me a lot. That was the most fun I had at Tennessee. It literally was 6 days a week, and it got my mind off of it, which is what I needed. It made it harder to leave Tennessee. I was finally kind of finding a community, but coming to UNCC, I can definitely tell that the community that I found here is much stronger than the community that would have been there. But of course, I have regrets. I have instances where I think I should have stuck it out longer. I should have been more I should have taken more initiative at the beginning and done stuff that I actually wanted to do and gone out and made friends, but that's not who I was back then. I'm a completely different person, and I'm a completely different person now and a completely stronger person now because of that year, because of how miserable I was, because of the things I didn't do. So I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. What I like to say is that it wasn't the right time for me to be at Knoxville. So I came back home. I came to the closest university I possibly could, and I felt like a failure for a little bit. I thought transferring meant that something went wrong, and I wasn't willing to admit that something went wrong. But something did go wrong. I was in the wrong place. And that's okay, and it's okay to realize that, but at the time I didn't really think anybody was transferring that much, so I felt a lot of shame and guilt because of it. It was definitely, I put it on myself, nobody put it on me, but we all think people are thinking things behind our backs, so I guess that's kind of where it stemmed from.
Do you ever miss anything about Tennessee?
When you walked into the room, I couldn't keep my eyes off of you.
So this is my first time back on campus at Tennessee, and to say that I feel weird about it is definitely an understatement. I tried not to think about how I would feel coming back here, and I think it was a little of a shock that I actually do feel like kind of queasy being on campus, not because my experience was bad here. I don't regret that year at all. I grew so much as a person, and I absolutely love campus here. It's just, that seems like a different lifetime to me. Like, I was such a different person, it almost doesn't even seem real. And I've kind of had this fantasy about that time in my life for a while where I was like, oh, all these things I could have done. But coming back on campus, I really realized that I couldn't have done those things without the growth that year had given to me, and also the growth that I've had at Charlotte now. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have missed campus. It's beautiful. It's the most beautiful campus I'll ever be on. And things have changed, which I wasn't expecting. I guess we all kind of think that things stand still once we're not somewhere, that life only goes on when we're at that place. And it's just surprising to see that life does continue when you're not somewhere. It's changed, but it's the same. I'm sitting outside the building that I cried at many a time, and it's nice to not want to cry right now, but it's still weird. I miss the trees, I miss the openness, I miss campus being almost so huge that you can get lost in the people. But on the other hand, that's what I love about UNCC, is that every person seems important on campus just because it seems like more of a tighter knit community. And I miss the town being the college. But then again, that is what I like about UNCC, is that Charlotte is Charlotte outside of UNCC. So it's really crazy being back. Once I got to UNC Charlotte my sophomore year, I looked around at my friends through social media and saw a lot of people transferring, and a lot of people just taking different life paths, like not even going to college, doing some trade job that gets them like a certificate that they need for this job that's going to set them up for the rest of their life, or moving across the world, or moving across the country, or getting married, or having kids. And yeah, we're young at this age, but none of that means that it's the wrong time to do any of those things. And it doesn't mean that the right thing is going to college, and it doesn't mean the right thing is sticking with your first decision always. There's always time to change your mind. And I didn't realize that at first, but I do now.